Well, hello and good evening, Navigate Home. My name is Seamus Allen. I am a chiropractor, a nutritionist, and a functional medicine practitioner, and I am honored and excited to have this opportunity to speak to you guys tonight on nutrition and overall posture as well as body health. And I think this is such pertinent information considering the times we're in, and I think a lot of this information is going to provide liberation to a multitude of health issues that are plaguing people daily if implemented effectively. And so thank you to Kim Russell for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. Before I launch in, I'd like to give a little bit of background about some of my story and some of the health challenges I overcame that gave me a lot of the inspiration, the encouragement, and just the desire to go into more of the functional medicine space. So this part of my story picks up when I was in 10th grade. And I remember just sitting in class one day, and all of a sudden I had this sharp pain behind my ear. And I remember just reaching back there and noticed this big bump, like painful, fluid-filled kind of pustule bump behind my ear. And had no idea what it was. Ended up going home later that day and I went to the general health practitioner, my primary care physician, who ended up diagnosing it as a carbuncle cyst, which is a collection of boils, essentially. And it's an area in the body where different immune factors and macrophages and things come and try to wall off an infection so that it doesn't go more systemic and body-wide. And he ended up lancing that area and draining it and prescribing me an oral antibiotic as well as a topical cream-based antibiotic to put on the area. And it was great because I got relief there, the swelling went down, the inflammation, the pain went down. The problem was that it ended up recurring, and the next time it manifested right on my face. And so, again, this is a time when I was in high school, and it ended up persisting for the next 9 years into my college years as well, and to the point where it was very hard just to be even around people, to want to be even out in public at all. It was very just self-conscious time for me. And, you know, for those 9 years, I was trying to figure out what was going on, trying to change the diet, revamp things, and was having all of these issues. And by the grace of God, I was led to different natural healthcare practitioners and functional medicine doctors who were able to help me really focus on clearing and ridding a lot of the toxins out of my body, revamping the diet properly, and figuring out what's at the root cause of what is going on here. And so I just thank the Lord for healing, for restoration, and I'm at a point 9 years later where I don't have any of those skin issues anymore, any of the boils, the carbuncle cysts, the cystic acne. Thank God, you know, the confidence, the self-esteem has improved, and I know a lot of people tuning in and watching know that, you know, they may not have the facial cyst kind of issue. They may not be able to relate on that level. But the truth of the matter is a lot of people in some form or fashion have some kind of health issues or some kind of challenges they're dealing with. And through my own experience, a lot of what I've learned is that a lot of these issues need to be addressed at their root cause. And so that really leads me into kind of unveiling what the topic of functional medicine is. And by its definition, it's a science-based whole systems approach to addressing the root cause of disease and dysfunction in individuals. And so this is what helped me really clear a lot of those toxins out of my body. I was working with a lot of different natural healthcare practitioners to revamp my diet and help me in that way. And so instead of just putting a Band-Aid on and masking the symptoms, it's asking the question, what is actually at the core of these diseases and dysfunctions going on? And so when you think in the case of, for instance, migraine headaches, you know, a lot of times the westernized allopathic approach to that is asking, you know, what kind of medication can we get the patient on? And that ends up really just kind of alleviating a lot of the symptoms. But unfortunately, really the root cause of that is not addressed as much. And so that's the difference with a functional medicine practitioner, is those questions are asked as to more of the why and how can we prevent this from coming back. You know, it makes me think of patients with Hashimoto's thyroiditis and different thyroid issues getting prescribed Synthroid. And a lot of times that's a prescription they need to be on for life. But I think if we can really address the root cause, that we can turn that around, get patients off a lot of the medications, and really heal the body from the inside out. And so when it comes to chronic migraines, the functional medicine practitioner is going to ask, well, is it a dehydration issue? Maybe that's what we need to address. Maybe it's unresolved emotional stress that is not dealt with properly. It could be an inflamed liver, just bogged down from the standard American diet. Could be heavy metal toxicities in the body. It could be candidiasis and excessive yeast proliferation in the gut. And these are all the questions that a functional medicine practitioner is going to look at. And what's great is oftentimes we can get lab work to figure out what is going on there. Maybe it's a stool sample, a serum or blood test, a saliva sample, a urinalysis. And these are going to give more objective measures as to what is going on, how we need to bolster health, what we need to target, which organs of elimination do we need to hit more drastically. And so the beautiful thing with this is not only do the symptoms get resolved, but the internal workings of the physiology of the organ systems all get revamped. And so therefore there is just overall body-wide health as a result. And so this is what has led me into the functional medicine scene and creating a telehealth platform called ImmunaHealth to help people overcome these type of health challenges. And things I work with, hormonal imbalances, gastrointestinal issues, maybe it's IBS type stuff with constipation, diarrhea, or even inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Things like ADD, ADHD, fibromyalgia, and muscle pains, insomnia. A lot of these things we need to hit at the root cause, figure out what the core and the origin of the issue is, and we can not only resolve those issues but create a pinnacle of health for that patient as well. And so that really leads me into a few different things I want to address as far as health pillars. And it's about 3 or 4 different health pillars I'm going to be talking about to really bolster health to the utmost. And this is a multi-tiered approach to healthcare where we want these all implemented effectively in proper amounts, because this is going to lead to a synergistic approach. And so the first one I want to address here is what I would call proper thinking and relational pillar. And the way this plays out for me is every day I like to start my day just in the Bible, having an active prayer life, having a relationship with Jesus, just being in the Bible. It's a time where I can read the Word of God, hear His words to me, offer up prayers of thanksgiving, prayers of petition, and just really cultivating, developing a deeper, more intimate relationship with the Lord. And what's great about that, we know in the Bible, Jesus says that His yoke is easy and burden is light, and it's something we don't have to carry the whole load of this world. And I think that just gives us great, tremendous encouragement and empowerment to just move through the day with power and peace of mind and confidence. And it's not only that, though. We have that vertical relationship, but then also the horizontal relationship with others. The truth is, we are created to be in relationship with people. And so this can be people, small groups at church, having just that accountability, that support, being able to have people pray for us and pray for others, family, friends. It's interesting to see that when people kind of cloister themselves off, maybe they're more hermits kind of by themselves, we see a lot of just psychosocial issues, a lot of even neurodevelopmental issues can manifest as well. And so we need to really have that reach in our community to be able to just talk to other people, offer up what's on our hearts, and have that kind of support and strength in numbers. And a couple of verses came to mind also as I was preparing this, as far as how important our thoughts can be to everyday life. And I love Proverbs 4:23 in the Good News Translation, talking about be careful how you think, your life is shaped by your thoughts. And we need to be sending out our thoughts in the direction we want our lives to go, and just it really reinforces the concept of faith and believing for the best. It reminds me too of Job, talking about what I feared has come upon me, what I dreaded has happened to me. And it's just this idea that our words can cultivate a self-fulfilling prophecy based on good or bad, what our words are sending out. And one other verse I just wanted to share, which I think is a great way for how we can orient our thoughts. It's in Philippians 4:8, where Paul says, Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. I think that's just a wonderful directive from Paul of how to orient our thoughts to bring our mental health to its highest point there, where it's the most beneficial for us. And, it just makes me think, for instance, I think a lot of times, especially in this day and age, there's a lot of focus on the news, on the media, even on social media. I think we got to be careful with that because we can really get over-inundated, oversaturated, and it can really influence the mind in a negative light. And so I think it's absolutely important to be aware of what's going on, but not really over-inundated with that kind of thing. So that is the first pillar, that proper thinking and having just relationships, ideally that vertical with the Lord and horizontal with other people, thinking properly. And actually kind of a little homework assignment maybe I would throw out there to encourage you guys to do is see if tomorrow morning when you wake up, if you could start out with a gratitude list. And I would challenge you to see if you can write down about 50 things you're grateful for. And that may be tough for some people who are not used to thinking about that many things at once they're grateful for, but this does get easier with time, and it can just really allow the mind to be in a healthy place to start the day. So gratitude is one of the best ways to start the day, this Thanksgiving concept, which we are called to on a daily basis, despite the circumstances. And that leads me into the second pillar here, and it's a movement/exercise pillar. And we all know the importance of proper motion for the body, right? As a chiropractor, I see especially during this quarantine time, the ergonomic setup with the work from home is different. And, patients are sitting more and posture can suffer. And it's noticeable at the clinic as well. Patients coming in, they're tighter. It's even sometimes harder to move the joints during the adjustment. And so I would encourage you, even working from home, see if you can just stand up and get moving throughout the day a little bit. It's said these days that sitting is the new smoking because it can be so toxic to the joints and it can cause these adhesions to form, constricted muscles. It can be easier to injure, actually. You're more prone to injury, less blood flow throughout the body. Early degenerative changes can set in. And so even as simple as just maybe investing in a standing desk or kind of rigging something up where you can just stand up through the day as you're working can be a great way to minimize a lot of the pressure from sitting that takes its toll on the joints. And I would also say strive for about even 30 to 60 minutes of exercise a day. Ideally, I think it would get to the point where it can be some cardiovascular training. Maybe it's cycling, swimming, running, jogging, that kind of thing, as well as some resistance training with weights. But I just remember learning at school, a professor asked, hey, what's the best kind of exercise? And the point he was trying to make is it's anything the patient is going to do. So if you're someone who loves to swim, I would just say just start swimming more, get moving. The idea is to have the heart pumping, the blood flowing, circulation enhanced. We all know the runner's high too can be great for just overall cognition, endorphin release. Important to have proper movement and exercise, especially during this time and stay-at-home orders and things like that. And just a few notes on posture as well. As a chiropractor, it just intrigues me a lot to see, especially in the teenage years, people coming in with reversed curves in their neck already. And that is something that is just shocking, really. And a lot of it is due just to the tech neck, looking down, texting a lot of the day, even the computer posture then when you're kind of hunched over and slumped forward. And it's really taking its toll even in 16, 17-year-olds where we're starting to see reversed curves in the neck, early degenerative changes taking place, disc issues happening already, and that can even lead to radiating type pain down the upper extremities, numbness, tingling, some of these paresthesias and stuff like this. So one thing I recommend to my patients, it's a very simple exercise, but just putting the heels up against the wall and then just looking directly forward. And I would say more often than not, patients at the office don't always have their head back up against the wall. And it's just this idea that reinforces that a lot of people have the anterior head carriage. And so ideally, looking from the side, the middle of the ear is right over the shoulder. But when it goes anterior, it just slips forward. And it's said that every inch forward is an extra 10 pounds of pressure on the spinal cord. And that is a good amount of pressure. And that can be very egregious to the neurological structures in the neck. And again, it can lead to degeneration, degenerative disc disease, arthritis, radiating pain, the numbness, the tingling. stuff nobody wants at all. And so that can be a great exercise, just to have the heels up against the wall, trying to draw the chin down and back so that the skull can get to the wall, and just holding that even for a couple minutes a day, maybe 15 to 30-second increments, just to retrain these deep neck flexor muscles to allow the head to be situated back over the shoulders properly. And that's going to minimize a lot of the tension on the neck, as well as the upper back and the trap muscles there as well. As far as low back pain, child's pose can be a great stretch. That is one I recommend frequently, just kind of sitting back on your feet and stretching forward, kind of loosening up the low back, creating a little more limber state there. And then a great way also to support low back is by strengthening core. And so planks can be a great way to do that. I think crunches can be okay too, but planks are great. They don't really cause any excess hip flexion there, pretty neutral posture. And that can just be even a couple times a day to fail to really strengthen up that core and support low back. And then even during times of sitting, just implementing more of this Brugger's posture, which is up, open, shoulders back, enhances lung capacity. When we're down here slouched, you can't even really get a great breath in. It's diminished lung capacity, diminished inspiratory reserve volume of the lungs. We're not oxygenating the tissues downstream as well. And so we want to be up like this, up and open, creating proper curvature in the spine. And so this is going to be a lot of just the movement exercise pillar, in addition to that proper thinking, relational. And then we're going to move into this last one, which is just called nutrient-based eating. And, we know in the standard American diet, there is a lot of sugar consumption, a lot of hydrogenated oils, processed and packaged foods, and a lot of things that are really devoid of any kind of nutrition. And so there's a lot of high carb content as well. And this is stuff that can really just feed yeast in the colon and can cause conditions like leaky gut syndrome, intestinal permeability. And this is problematic because that is the root cause of autoimmune issues. It creates inflammation, which is really the root cause of all these autoimmune issues that happen through the body. And so we really need to be cognizant about reinforcing the gut lining and really bringing down a lot of that carb intake, and really bringing up, in most cases, a lot of the healthy fat content. And so things like coconut oil is wonderful for this. It's a powerful antimicrobial. It has what's called medium chain triglycerides like lauric acid, capric, and caprylic acid. So it's going to kill a lot of parasites, viruses, bacteria, and yeasts and candida. Really cleanse the gut really well. Even things like nuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, nuts like walnuts, almonds, for instance, fatty fish like salmon. If we could really bring a lot of this fatty foods into play, the healthy ones, that's going to support brain health better, skin, vision, all these types of things. The omega-3s are going to be very important there. So just this idea of nutrient-based eating, bringing a lot of the sweets down, because that's going to create many pro-inflammatory states in the body. And in the same vein of this is really a cornerstone of what I do with the telehealth, immunohealth practice, is just the proper supplementation. And I found it very interesting from my own perspective that through my own health challenges, revamping the diet alone was not enough. And so I thought that, going super strict, it would allow my body to cleanse all the toxins out, and I would have, glowing skin, and it would be a lot better. But really that wasn't the case for me. And what I learned is that supplements have to be in the picture as well, because they can further, these botanicals and different herbal antibiotics can be very powerful, and they can stimulate liver detox enzymes to a greater degree than just simply food can. And so proper supplementation, not only to bridge the nutritional gaps in the diet, but also to further stimulate detoxification, getting the pathogens, excess toxins, parasites out of the body to further cleanse, is going to be important as well. Okay, so at this point, those were the top pillars. I think we need to have those working together synergistically, ideally, and I think all of those can reach us a pinnacle of health if implemented in adequate amounts there. But I'm going to transition now into some of the top anti-inflammatory foods. And these are foods, I'm going to go through about 9 different things. Some are more categorical in nature, but if we could implement these in some form or fashion in our day, we're going to see tremendous advances in lowering inflammation, and all that inflammation can then bring in the form of disease and dysfunction in the body. So let's jump into the first anti-inflammatory food, and this is going to be green leafy vegetables, and I'm going to throw in cruciferous here as well. So when we think about green leafies, we can do spinach, collard greens, dandelion greens, Swiss chard. These are chock full of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, which are these beneficial plant compounds that can reduce inflammation, further detox the body. And then when it comes to cruciferous, things like kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, and these have a compound called indole-3 carbinol, which is a potent liver detoxifier. It's going to initiate these liver detox enzymes, again, to get a lot of the stored up toxins in the bile out of the body, a lot of the heavy metal toxicities out of the body. And that indole-3 carbinol can also be metabolized in the body into something called DIM, which is a great way to stabilize male and female hormones. And so I would even say, during the menopausal time frame, these can be great foods to implement to further balance out hormones that can sometimes be in flux during that time. And so we're going to move into number 2 here, and that is fatty fish like salmon. So salmon has an antioxidant in it called astaxanthin, and that's actually what gives the pink color to the salmon. This is great for heart health, skin health, brain health, but it also has omega-3s in the form of EPA and DHA. Great for overall, very neuroprotective, can help reinforce myelin sheath synthesis in the brain for proper conduction velocity. This can ward off things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and things under the dementia umbrella. We can also see with salmon, it can really lower inflammatory markers, blood inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and the ESR, or erythrocyte sedimentation rate. Those really go down drastically when patients are on fish oil, but even more specifically, salmon itself. So let's move into number 3, and this is going to be bone broth, and I put this in the foods because it can come in powder form as well. But with bone broth, it has a few key amino acids, or these building blocks of proteins. Proline and glycine are present in them, which is huge for overall immune system optimization, which is why this is great if someone has a common cold or something. This can really help knock that out quicker because of those 2 amino acids. It also has glutamine, which is a wonderful way to support the gut lining, which again is going to ward off that intestinal permeability, the leaky gut syndrome, which can lead to all those other autoimmune issues. And it also has collagen in it, which can break down or gelatin, which can break down into collagen and further support a lot of the connective tissue and the gut lining as well. So this is a huge, powerful gut builder, gut reinforcer, bone broth. And let's move into the number 4 top anti-inflammatory food is going to be blueberries. And blueberries have an antioxidant called anthocyanins. That's what gives it its blue color. And this is great for overall helping with cognition, reducing any kind of memory loss. It's great for blood pressure as well, lowering blood pressure. And it has vitamin C, which can lead to proper collagen synthesis for overall skin health as well. So blueberries coming in at number 4. And then I'm going to lead into the 5th category is nuts here, and specifically almonds and walnuts. These are, again, great ways to support hormonal health in the body, healthy source of fatty acids. The almonds have magnesium and vitamin E, and the walnuts have what's called alpha-linolenic acid. It's a type of omega-3, and this is, just like with the fish, very good for reversing any kind of neurodegenerative issues and warding off things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So what's interesting is when it comes to the brain, it's about 60% fat. And so we need to reinforce that fat with proper fats in the diet. Another interesting point too is that a lot of these fats are needed and cholesterol is needed to form what's called pregnenolone in the body, and this is a precursor to all the steroid, all the sex hormones in the body. So if there is not proper fat intake, there is going to be a lot of endocrine imbalances in the body. So we need proper fats in the diet, and the nuts is a great way to accomplish that. And so the number 6 anti-inflammatory food is going to be an avocado. And so these have vitamins B, C, E as well is magnesium, potassium, but it also has a couple antioxidants called zeaxanthin and lutein, and these are great for supporting ocular health and vision and warding off things like macular degeneration and different ocular diseases. All right, the next one, number 7, is sweet potato. And sweet potato is very high in beta carotene and really a provitamin A. And this is great for epithelial, so really skin health, as well as reinforcing vision health. And it's low on the glycemic index, so it can be very suitable as well for diabetic patients. So number 8 is going to be chia and flax seeds. And these are high, again, in that alpha-linolenic acid, that omega-3 for skin, heart, brain health. And they have what's called mucilaginous fiber in them. And so this is something that can really swell, absorb a lot of weight in water, and can draw a lot of different toxins and pathogens from within the GI tract and expel them out of the body. And in addition to that, they can really have a positive influence on insulin sensitivity, warding off insulin resistance issues, which can be kind of pre-diabetic or diabetic conditions. And then the number 9 is going to be probiotic foods. Things like kimchi, sauerkraut, kvass, tempeh, goat milk kefir. These can be great options because probiotics are going to colonize the colon with beneficial bacteria and prevent what's called dysbiosis. So that's an improper ratio of the good to bad microbes in the gut. And so probiotics can really expel, really turn that ratio around and expel a lot of the bad pathogenic microbes that should not be there in those numbers. So those are going to be probiotic foods. And I'm going to throw in kind of a little bonus category here in the form of spices. And so, for instance, turmeric is a great spice. It has what's called curcuminoids in them, which are powerful anti-inflammatories. Cinnamon is great as a blood sugar stabilizer. Ginger can be great as a carminative, which is going to reduce flatulence, reduce bloating. Can also be great for reducing nausea and morning sickness during pregnancy. One thing I do with some of these spices is just make what's called like a golden milk latte, I guess you could call it. And I would just take either coconut or almond milk and kind of grate in some turmeric and some ginger, put maybe a tablespoon or something of cinnamon in, stir that up, bring it to a boil, let that simmer, and you can just kind of strain off the solid elements, and you have that golden milk latte that really brings together a lot of these spices in one beverage, and that can be super anti-inflammatory. So I'm realizing I am getting close to the 7:30 mark. I mentioned that I would go through some of the x-rays, so I'm going to have to bypass some of this other information I was going to get into. And I'm going to flip this around here. Let's see. And let's bring up a set of x-rays. So this is a patient, got permission to show this at the clinic, and I'm going to keep the name obviously anonymous and everything, but this is a lateral view, side view of the neck here. And a couple things I look for right when I see this is overall curvature in the neck. Ideally, we have this kind of gentle C-shaped curve in here. So we're seeing a lot more straightness in the neck right here. This can be a factor where there can be a lot of just the tech neck, the computer posture coming into play. 60-year-old patient, a lot of this can just catch up over time. But a couple other things to look for is, we see in between these bones here some open disc space, which looks pretty good. As we come down into this mid-lower neck, you can see the disc area really minimizes and reduces. And so this can be a condition where, because the bones are closer together, can actually bulge and start to herniate the disc outward. And that can put some pressure on the neurological structures, the spinal cord right in here. This is where we can see a lot of those paresthesias, the numbness, the tingling issues. So this would be a great way to we'd want to decompress this and just open that up through some manual traction or possibly even a decompression table. And then we do see slight anterior head carriage where the neck is going forward, and this would be a good thing where we could use that heel up against the wall exercise to really bring the neck back, reinforce proper alignment there to preserve this so it doesn't get worse with time. And this is also something, when I see this at the office, it's really good to start off on the back when you go to bed on it, even if it's 5-10 minutes, and it can really using a cervical pillow to help reinforce proper curve in the neck. You can also roll up a towel and just place it right on the neck there. That's going to help bring some curvature back over time, really reduce a lot of the tension that can happen on the trap muscles up here as well. And then we move into this open mouth view and take this to see right inside the mouth, the first couple bones in the spine, to see how they are approximated on each other. And then this yellow line here is just to check for really overall symmetry side to side in the body. And we can see that as we come down here, some of the spine starts to come off to this side. So we're seeing a little deviation there. Also check some of the upper lung fields to see if there are any masses. It looks good in that regard. Let's move into this. I'm going to bypass and go right to this. This is a pelvic view here. So you can see the dotted and the solid lines. Ideally, the dotted and solid line would be superimposed on each other, and that would represent no pelvic unleveling. But in this case, we have it to where, it's a little bit higher on this right side, and we're a little bit rotated more on this y-axis. So that can be indicative of some tight muscles in the hip flexors, the glutes, that we'd want to work out with either foam rolling that out or even using something like a lacrosse ball to put that right up against the wall, for instance, in the glute muscle, and just kind of leaning into that and digging in, trying to reduce some of the tension, the tightness in there, and that can help restabilize the pelvis and orient that properly. And then we come to this side view of the low back, and we have the sacrum here and the low back vertebrae, and we again just check in between each bone to see the disc space. It looks like at various parts it's a little bit reduced more in the back areas here. We can also see these kind of circular areas here where some of the nerves come out, and it looks like it's a little bit reduced in here. So I just wanted to show some of these pictures to show how posture can really impact the x-rays and how it can catch up to people over time. We really want to make sure we are sitting properly with curves intact. Again, that Brugger's posture where we're up and open, allowing for proper lung capacity and oxygenation to tissues throughout the body. And so guys, just to recap a little bit, those health pillars with the proper thinking, having the proper relationships in store, movement and exercise, aim for maybe 30 to 60 minutes a day, and trying to just get up through the day, not sitting, not being as static through the day. And then also eating, in a way where we're supporting our bodies, honoring the temple, not really adulterating it with too many sugars and carbs, but really bringing some of those healthy fats into play as well. And the supplementing can be healthy as well to further promote that detoxification. And so guys, I'm going to wrap things up here. I just want to thank you all for joining me and tuning in. I am an open resource to you guys. If you have any questions, I'd appreciate you just reach out to me on Facebook, email immunahealth@drseamus.com. You can check out my website, drseamus.com. I'd love to talk to you, offer any more insights that I can. But it's been most enjoyable. Hopefully I can be welcomed back again to talk about a different topic, but I just hope you guys have learned something of value today, can implement some of these things to really bolster health and take your health to a whole new level. So thanks again, guys. Hope you have a wonderful night. Thanks for having me. Thank you again to Kim. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.